Thank you, Chairman Neal. And thank you, all of y'all, for being here for well over 4 hours to discuss with us something that we all care very much about. Taiwan is important to us. They're our democratic partner in the Indo-Pacific region, and we must do more to ensure our continued economic and security relationship. Like so many in this room, I'm frustrated with the Biden administration's lack of a coherent trade strategy. We must act swiftly and decisively to combat China's growing influence in the Indo-Pacific. I recently returned from heading a CODEL with my colleagues where we visited Cambodia and Singapore. And these countries are anxious for U.S. trade leadership in the region. They have industries that want increased access to the U.S. markets, and we need to stand ready to work with them. The story that I heard from across the economic spectrum of the ASEAN countries is that the U.S. involvement and American investment is critical to create an open and prosperous region. The United States must take a leadership role with these countries, or our competitors will. So they'll fill the vacuum if we don't. And by not including all countries in the ASEAN regional trade negotiations, we are risking splintering the fastest growing trade bloc in the world. And I understand the administration is working on IPEF, as well as another separate negotiation with Taiwan. And while I'm glad that we're beginning to engage in the region, I remain very concerned about the lack of congressional consultation for these agreements. The Constitution grants Congress with the authority to regulate commerce with foreign nations. Without trade promotion authority, any agreement led by the administration lacks the trade tools necessary to provide true market access to these nations. There are many avenues in which the U.S. can strengthen our trade with Taiwan, and I think we have a huge opportunity for the U.S.-Taiwan energy cooperation. In 2021, Taiwan imported 97.4% of its energy, and while it is working on decarbonizing its economy, we have another opportunity to work together on carbon capture technology. Last year, my colleague Darren LaHood and I introduced the U.S. Trade Leadership in the Indo-Pacific and China Act. This bill asserts that the United States should play a sustained role in establishing an open, rules-based trading system in the Indo-Pacific, and that the United States should have a long-term strategy for maintaining a balanced trading relationship with China. I think our legislation lays it out in a clear path for the United States trading engagement in the region. Engagement with Taiwan is key in these goals. Ms. Glasser, in your testimony, you discuss U.S. trade leadership in the Indo-Pacific. How important is trade promotion authority for securing a long-lasting trade deal with Taiwan?
Well, I think that ultimately having TPA would be the best way to go. But I, too, am glad that at least this administration has gotten started talking with Taiwan about trade issues. We spent 4 years in the Trump administration where we actually had no talks with Taiwan about trade issues. And so Mr. Wu has said earlier, there's a belief that we can get some early harvest actions, we can get something done in the short run, but ultimately, I think we need a comprehensive trade agreement with Taiwan, and that should be done, of course, with Congress and Trade Promotion Authority.
Thank you. Mr. Wu, how do you think the U.S. and Taiwan can further trade cooperation with energy?
I think this is an important front for exactly what you highlighted in terms of Taiwan's dependence on foreign energy. Right? So certainly, I think in terms of making sure the infrastructure is in place for LNG transport, and so forth, I think Taiwan's willingness to support a global effort in terms of making sure Europe has access to that has been critical for that. So bringing Taiwan into those discussions about ensuring, right, the global energy crisis that we're facing in Europe doesn't get cut off, and then looking at diversification of sources beyond just U.S. and other places as well. I think all of those are important. Renewables, I think, is also an important part of that, but that's several years off, and we need to look at crises that Taiwan may face in the near term.
Thank you so much.